This is the pose that we're going to be going through today, okay? The Arnold 3/4 Arnold pose, or the twisting rear double as some people like to call it. Okay, so the first thing to note on this pose is that you don't lean forward on the pose. This is what most people go wrong, okay? They go into the shot and they do this, okay? That doesn't give you like the correct flow of the pose, okay? If I was to show you how I hit this pose from reverse, you actually see that I'm lifting my chest and almost slightly leaning back on the pose. So when I go into it, my chest is lifted, boom, and then I'm slightly leaning back on the pose. All right, so if I swap that and put it into the right view for you, then the pose looks right. Okay, so that's the first thing. When you go into the pose, don't lean forward in the pose. It's easier for you guys to see in reverse. You actually shift your hips forward, okay? Slightly lean back on the pose, chest elevated, and then you hit the shot like that, okay? That's the first thing. To go with that, you want to be putting body weight onto your lead leg, okay? In this situation, when we do the Arnold 3/4, our leg that's closest to the audience is going to be what we call the trailing leg because it's trailing behind. And then the lead leg, which is going to be the one furthest away from you, is going to be the leg we call the lead leg, okay? The lead leg because we put most of the body weight on that leg, okay? So, placing your lead foot down, you want to make sure that your hips are positioned forward into the pose. So you're contracting the glutes a little bit and you're positioning your body weight onto that lead leg. I'm basically doing it to the point that my hip is over the heel of the lead foot. Okay, so heel is over the lead foot. The trailing leg, you want to make sure that the calf is spiked to the point that the knee is traveling down to the ground. So some people hit it like here. Okay, what you want to be doing is positioning body weight over on that lead leg, hip over heel, and then spiking that calf so that this trowel leg knee drops. That's how he really gets into the pose, okay? So once you've got the leg position down, okay, lead leg, hip over heel, trailing leg, calf spiked, knee down, you position your hips forward a little bit, okay? Sometimes I say to guys like dick forward, and then they just go, ugh, because y'all guys know how to do that, okay? So got the leg position down, hips forward or dick forward, slightly chest elevated, leaning back slightly, and then we can go into the shot, okay? So how to get the actual position down of the twisting rear. Initially, really guys, it's not like you don't have to rotate as much as you think. If you're doing a quarter turn, okay, and you show the back before you turn into the quarter turn, so you show the back here, that is all the rotation you need, okay? So you just want to be rotating the torso to the point that I can present my lat to the audience, okay? That is all the rotation we need in the pose. And then once we have that down, it just goes down to the arms, okay? This is probably one of the biggest things that people get wrong in the pose is you'll see guys do this because they're squeezing that trap together and they're squeezing on that rear delt, okay? So this upper arm is way too low. When you go into the twisting rear, what you should feel is that upper arm feels really high, okay? So we're almost straight up to the ceiling, okay? And then once you've got the rotation and leg position down, you just flex into that lower arm, flex into the upper arm, and you're there. You don't want to be flexing down on that rear delt, okay? You also don't want to be flexing down on this lat. That's another thing I see is people, they kind of flexed in on this lat. You want to make sure that you feel nice and open in the pose. So when you flare your lats and then you rotate into the pose, flare my lats, rotate into the pose, pick my chest up, lean back on the pose slightly, this upper arm goes higher, and then I'm not squeezing in on the lat, I keep the lat out, okay? Trap down, elbow up, and then this arm goes higher, okay? Then that way you'll get a nice perfect line from elbow to shoulder through the traps to your other shoulder to the elbow on the front, okay? They're the biggest things, okay? One of the other things when you're trying to hit a twisting rear double is you're trying to lean laterally towards the audience, okay? So when I go into the pose, not only is my chest up and I'm leaning back, I'm also leaning laterally towards the audience to allow this arm to get high enough, okay? So for me, where I hit it on this side, my left side obliques are really stretching over to the side, okay? So that way I can present the back, boom, to the audience. All right, guys? Okay, so that's how you actually get that upper arm to show to the audience, because sometimes you'll see guys hit it like this and this arm doesn't look big enough because they're not leaning laterally on the pose, okay? So they'll be hitting the pose here when they really need to lean laterally and drive this arm up, okay? So when you put all of that together with the hip positioning, with the feet, with the torso, you'll come into a nice twisting rear double. Now, one of the ground poses for the twisting rear is this shot right here. Okay, so how do we nail the 3/4 Arnold pose on the ground? It's all just going to come down to the legs. Essentially, everything you do on the torso, you just need to carry that over from the first part of the tutorial into this part. You still have the same lateral lean, you still have the chest up, your hips are driving forward still, and you're slightly leaning back, okay? Everything is the same, but the leg position is slightly different. So what you want to be doing here is you want to be lining up the toe of your back foot with the knee of your front leg, okay? So this is my front leg here. I like to keep the heel, the toe fully flat to the ground. And then I'm gonna line up the toe of this back foot with the knee of this front leg, okay? And then I'm gonna be spiking up on the calf. So right here, anywhere around here is good. If you have it here, you can do it like that, but then you have to really lean in and flex into the glutes and sort of do like a deep lunge position, which also looks good. But for the sake of this pose, we're gonna do it like this. So toe is right by the knee. You spike up on the calf, okay? Toe on the other foot on the trail leg is flat to the ground. I then drive my hips forward to the point I'll feel a big stretch on this quad. If I keep my hips back, the pose doesn't look right, okay? So I want to be spiking up on this calf, flexing the glutes in, pushing my hips forward till I feel a big stretch on this quad, and then everything's the same. Slightly leaning back, chest is up, and then I'm going to laterally lean towards you guys with this arm high. Okay, so that's how you hit it on the ground and actually make it look not shit. Okay, so one of my favorite transitions into the twisting rear is from like a rear double bicep or just any rear pose, and then you flip it around into the twisting rear, okay? So you'll be hitting like a rear double bicep here, and then you'll flip it round into the twisting rear, okay? That's one of my favorite things to do. You can also drop it to the ground from there, okay? So you can hit the twisting rear and then drop it round into the twisting rear on the ground, okay? So how do you do this, okay? Essentially, the first thing that you need to do is break it down into steps, okay? So if you've got your twisting rear double bicep leg position, say for example, if we're gonna do it from that leg position, all you wanna do first is take a step or just pivot your foot to the left initially, okay? So that will be the lead leg, not the leg that's trailing back, but the lead leg, you're gonna pivot it to the left, okay? So from here, pivot that foot to the left. Once you've got that, all I'm gonna do is take a step in the direction of that foot, and then I'm gonna pivot, okay? So to pivot, I just lean the body weight onto the back leg. That heel will lift off the ground, and then I pivot on the heels, and then I land the shot, okay? So breaking it down again, you've got take a pivot on the left foot, take a step in the face, in the direction that you're facing, okay? Pivot into position, and then land the shot, okay? Quick note on the twist and rear doubles, when you hit the pose, don't have your foot straight back, take it out to the side. So you've got a wider base of stance, so that when you hit the shot, you're not like wobbling all over the place, okay? So again, pivot on the left foot, take a step in a direction, That was mental. Take a pivot in that direction, pivot, and then hit the pause, okay? Okay, so once you've got that down, then you just need to remove steps, okay? So what we're gonna do is you're always gonna pivot to the left, but then you're gonna remove this step, okay? Essentially, you're gonna go for a full spin into position. Okay, so 1, 2, straight into it, okay? Go again. So 1, pivot with the left, 2, straight into it. When I do this, I will more sort of go for a spin on the toe rather than the heel. Okay, so once more, pivot, spin, and then hit the shot. All right, guys, once you've got that down, you then don't even really need to think about moving the left foot. You'll kind of just hit the pose, okay, and you'll just sort of spin into it. But initially, just to break it down, it's easier to go 1, 2, 3, and then land the pose like that, okay? And then to do it for the ground, you then literally just need to do all them steps, but then drop it to the ground. So you're literally pivot, step to where you need it, pivot to where you need it, and then drop it to the ground, and then hit the shot. All right, so that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed that video, but I got tons more shit like this for you guys. Like I said, if you really enjoyed the video, you can join our free posing community, links in the description below. But hopefully you like it, share it to someone who needs it, and if you've got any other ideas of what you really would like to see from me, put it in the comments below. I'm gonna keep these videos chill, you know, not too much editing, just because it makes it a little bit easier for me. As long as I think I get the information across to you guys, I think that's the most important thing. So yeah, thanks for watching, peace.